Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Stage 6 effects of the McLaren P1GTR. This is coming up as a Golden and Evolution Cup car, which will start tomorrow on Friday. Let's take a look at this car and its various Stage 6 effects. Let's talk about Stage 5 only. This car is not slow at all at Stage 5 only. With just Stage 5 parts installed and full fusion, it is actually very quick on dyno and in theory. Of course, this car is a little bit hard to drive. A dyno of this car with a relatively simple tune of putting the tire to 0-100 and having max evo based on transmission gives you a 9.110. Not bad at all, but not as easy to hit as you may think. From a Stage 6 standpoint, the strongest one is Stage 6 body. With just Stage 6 body installed, you can see a nice jump in Evo and PP point. And here, just as one Stage 6 will give you a substantial drop in performance. Dyno tells us that without really tweaking much from the starting point of Stage 5, you can hit the theoretical highest point with the Evo with that one Stage 6. With the tire slightly adjusted, as you can see, it can actually do a little better at maybe 397 rather than 0-100. But that could also be a factor of adjusting other ways. Okay, 8.669, it's a substantial drop. And the biggest drop out of all the Stage 6s. Following closely after is Stage 6 engine. Engine, surprisingly, is a strong Stage 6 for this car, coming in a second. It is a good Stage 6 for helping you to get a higher speed trap, putting down more power. Overall, it's only shadowed by body. Everything else about engine is good. The Evo points from the fusion's decent. You can tweak engine slightly as well, but notice that it actually does better as you increase the top speed by decreasing the final drive. So here, engine actually helps a little bit with the top speed as compared to, say, where body was with the setup. And here you can play with the tire to see if it gets any better. Not really. You could probably leave it at 3 and get as good as you're going to get. Without fine-tuning, we're coming in at 8.83. That is, however, still about 0.2 slower than body. Next up, tire. As grippy as this car is and as quick as it's sprinting and 0-60 and 0-100, tire still seems to be a strong Stage 6. Adding more grip both helps the top speed and helps the car's performance in general. So without fine-tuning, you can see it does pretty well overall with just being set up normal. Now, unlike with engine, though, you do have to play with this a little bit. Again, notice how it still runs around engine's final drive, meaning the top speed is still theoretically close to where engine is. So tire not only gives you a good time, it also gives you a very close to engine type speed trap. Closely following that, we're starting to look at turbo. Turbo traditionally isn't a good Stage 6, but on this car, it's actually pretty decent. Of course, it's not as strong as the first 3, but it falls kind of in the middle here, being decent and getting you into the 8.9s without much fine-tuning, 8.959. Notice mile per hour is not that far off from the others, but it does better with a little bit of tweaking where the final drive is slightly more aggressive than both tire and engine. However, it's not that far off in the grand scheme of things. You're almost looking at almost identical final drive tuning. Again, 248 mile per hour, 8.933, not bad at all. Nitrous, which has a huge duration with this car when you put Stage 6 in, you would expect that nitrous would do a lot for this car, considering how much power it's claiming and how much the duration is, but really it doesn't do that much as compared to some of the others. Without fine-tuning, you're looking at 8.967. However, much like any of the other stage 6s, you can tweak it a little bit, but not a whole lot. That's the thing about this card. None of these really tweak by a huge amount. So no stage 6 requires a monster retuning to kind of get to its optimal Evo number, at least not that I've found so far. So here I'm just kind of playing with it. 1853, which puts us at identical time to Turbo. Interesting. However, all that extra nitrous doesn't seem to really help that much with the speed trap. Now we're looking at transmission. That's rather surprising that the transmission comes in so low in the list. We're almost near the end here, and transmission's coming in at 6 out of 7. Intake being next really doesn't surprise me. However, I kind of expected a little more from transmission. But then again, this car shifts so fast. What's another hundredth or two off the transmission shifting time? My fingers can't keep up with it as it is. And as such, you get a 9.053 out of good old transmission. That is rather disappointing. Again, unusual for a Tier 5 car to have such low performance out of trans, but it is what it is with this car. It seems this car likes some of the power adders, but not all of these modifications are all that helpful to it. Right, so I'm fine-tuning here a little bit to see if I can eke some more out of it, but it looks like I'm kind of stuck to this 9.053. Moving right on to number 7, we have intake. Are we really surprised? No. Intake almost always ends up at number 7. There's been a few surprises where it's better, but the fact that intake lands at bottom really doesn't get me excited or upset, because it's where it normally is, right? When it goes up to like position 4 is when you kind of go, whoa, what happened here? How did intake manage to get up there? Okay, now, intake requires slightly more aggressive final drive to get the best point, which means it actually produces a lower final speed, but the time is also rather mediocre. So intake comes in with a 9.073. However, it's not that far from trans, right? They're pretty close. Just like nitrous and turbo surprisingly ended up the same. So overall, the spread is not as bad as you think. Body and engine really does a lot, and the other 5 basically does much less. And so when you're looking at stage 6 combinations, you know for a fact if I put body and engine together, which I'm doing right now, you'll have a very good performance out of this car. I would say definitely low 8s just with those two, because one of them already gets you to 8.6, the other one gets you to 8.8. With the two of them combined, it would almost make no sense for it to come in anywhere less than 8.4, because just individually they're almost close. So the two of them should get you somewhere in the low 8s, most likely 8.4 and better. And that's very nice. If you had those two stage 6s, it means that you not only will have a nice top speed, you also have a nice performance. Again, I'm tweaking the tire slightly. As you can see, this car's tire tweaking isn't that much. 8.363, 258 miles per hour, almost 260. Not too shabby for two stage 6s. Hey, those two stage 6s may be enough to get you through Tempest 3. Okay, let's now look at the other 5. I put the other 5 in compared to those 2, and we're just going to go ahead and jump into the dyno, tweak it, and then dyno it and see what it comes out to. Now, the other 5 seems to help a little bit more with the top speed because I'm getting more points as I lower the final drive. So that's a good sign, but is it going to be quicker than an 8.36? I'm not too optimistic here. And it does not, but it's close. However, the top speed is definitely better. So here you're looking at 5 stage 6s versus 2, and the 2 beats all 5 combined. That brings us to the next point. Evolution Cup is likely to be somewhere near 8 second flat. Knowing how natural motion tend to do it, they tend to put it where it's only about 4/10 different from maxed. So here I put in some of the stronger stage 6s to see if I can hit 8-second performance with them. And there it is, 7.9. The problem is, of course, this car is not that easy to drive, right? So here I'm going to do a test run. And I can tell you it won't be easy for me without really eyeing the needle carefully to time this thing to run that 7.9. So I may still end up with a much worse run than 8.0. Ooh, yeah, I butchered that launch there. Redlining first gear and second gear is a killer to this car's performance. That's going to be a bad run. But that is probably my average type run, because unless I really start banging the buttons just right, I'm going to run 8.2 at 276. That's not good if the final time is an 8.0, because here I'm already pushing 4 stage 6s trying to get to this point. And if I can't do it with 4, that means I really need a close to max car. Another issue with this car, which I'm going to show you right now, is I now have the car maxed. Okay, and I'm going to go tweak my standard methods of messing with speed traps. This car, for some reason, doesn't benefit from certain adjustments that normally would give much better speed trap performance, such as, okay, lowering grip. Now, the difference between 0 and 52 is 2 miles per hour. That sucks. And the same goes for the fact that if you lower the final drive, you don't really get that much more mile per hour out of it. If anything, the car just kind of stays or gets worse when it comes to tweaking those kind of parameters. Whereas in most other cars, by doing 2.0 and 53, 47, 40, 54, 46, you would have a much better top speed. Nitrous is already at the max duration well beyond what this car runs, so that's not going to help you either. So here's a car that's just not that good for speed traps, and that is going to be one of the frustrations if the speed traps are actually set relatively high for the final event. So conclusion of this car is that I suspect the Golden Cup won't be super difficult, but many of us may be a little frustrated by the speed traps. And I think Evolution Cup will be difficult if you're not close to maxed. Even if your car dyno 7.7, you may be struggling to run under 8.0 without a good device and some quick reflexes. Hey, I made this a little differently than before. I hope you like it. Let me know what you think. And please, subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications when I put up new videos. And as always, thank you for watching my videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.